My name is Shervin Shafi, and I'm a principal technical specialist at Microsoft. We're coming to you live from different home offices. I'm in California, and Vincent, who is on the line with me as well, he's joining us from Singapore. Hey, Vincent, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me in this show. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's for those of you that don't know, Vincent and I are new friends. We just met earlier this year in 2022, and this whole session is about his journey into Microsoft. He has a wonderful resume of different experiences, but for Vincent, it was a lifelong dream to be able to join Microsoft, and he reached out to me back in April of this year when he saw some of my videos about interviewing for big tech types of roles, and he reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he said, "Hey, Sherv, can you give me some additional tips other than what you're sharing on YouTube?" And so that's kind of how we met on LinkedIn, and we started chit-chatting a little bit more on WhatsApp. So I was very, very happy and excited to hear that Vincent got the job as a Microsoft technical trainer in Singapore. And even if I had a tiny, tiny bit of a role in helping him get there, that was still enough for me because, I mean, like I said, he has wonderful experience. And on this call, he told me that he's going to try to share his experience and interview tips and his journey. So that's really the purpose of this session. By the way, for those of you that have joined, if you haven't already, just hit the like button on this video. And later on, I'll share a playlist of a lot of different videos around the ones I mentioned Vincent found around like preparing for interviews and other sessions that I've done, one with my manager and other people at Microsoft, because I really think it's about just having a little bit of an extra edge, right? If you are interviewing, if you're just a little bit better than the other candidates, then you're probably going to be the best in that pool and hopefully get the job, right? So that's why we're doing sessions like this to help you guys out. I think Vincent and I are happy. We're at Microsoft and we love it, and we hope that you can join us as well. So, Vincent, do you want to add a little bit about how we met, or what do you think that I
Sure.
covered? Yeah.
I think yes, definitely. Yeah, I think it's really great that I think we met. So just I think you produce a very great content. So while I'm doing my due diligence or preparing for the interview, so that's how I met. So it's just incredible that how internet and all these kind of things get us together. So from a strangers to become a friend, and also how you are willingly to help me, okay, just like a stranger, because not everyone respond to stranger, right? So that's why I think you help me in just in any form that you can. So I really appreciate that. So that's where I think it's wonderful that for this session that we are doing to help others as well, how the journey like, so that is probably something that will help you or inspire you to not give up and just continue trying out, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. I mean, I've tried reaching out to different people, and some people are receptive, some people are maybe too busy. And so, actually, when you reached out to me, I was on vacation with my family. I don't know if I told you,
Yes,
but
yes.
I had some time to chit chat, and I knew that you were in a critical place in the interview process. You had some interviews, you were kind of getting near the tail end, so it was important that if you needed a little extra hand. So I know you'll talk about all the people that have helped you and give some tips, right? The other thing
Yes.
I wanted to mention is that, myself living in the US and before I used to live in Canada, I think that, there's a lot of companies that are headquartered in, especially these big tech companies in the US, right? In Silicon Valley, in Washington, where Microsoft's headquarters is around Seattle. And so I think, wherever the headquarters is, there's more opportunity, right? More jobs. And although these are international companies that have offices around the world, like in Singapore and elsewhere, there might not be as many opportunities, right? So I think it's really important to understand the culture of the office that you're in and the company as a whole, being a lot of these being US based. And so Vincent will probably talk about that. And again, so this being kind of more of an international call, I want to make sure we're helping everyone around the world, right? Not just people that have the privilege or luxury of living close to headquarters. So Vincent, I know you put together some really good slides, right, that really step through your journey. And as you're going through those slides, I want to mention that then it'll give me a chance as well to look at the questions that are coming in. So please, everyone, keep this interactive. Post your questions in there, and I'll try to interject them into the slides that Vincent's going to be sharing. So with that, Vincent, maybe you can just kick it off and go into your deck.
Yeah, let me just quickly share my screen right now. So I'm really excited to share about the journey with all of you right here. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, I hope you can see my screen right now.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so good day, everyone. So I think, yeah, because everyone is joining from different places. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So welcome to this session. So I'm really excited to share about the journey of how I'm joining into Microsoft. So I never thought of I would be able to have the opportunity to join Microsoft and as a technical trainer. So right now I'm a Microsoft technical trainer. So training on the Azure cloud. So empowering more on this cloud computing, right? So this is my linking. So you can connect with me. So I do share about technologies, communities, and all the Microsoft certification daily, or maybe sometimes a few days, right? Yeah. So welcome to connect with me. Okay. So you can see the pictures right here. This is how the typical days of my training delivery, where I will need to have multiple screen whiteboardings, so that it's interactive session with my learners. Okay, let's move on. So I will just share with you on my career journey, how's I'm being so far from 2014. So as 2014, I'm internship as a PCB designer in National Instrument. So back then I enjoyed designing PCBs and I really love to play around with the hardware, right? So, and after that, I found another opportunity after graduating. I worked in Intel as a platform application engineer. So as an engineer, because I graduated as an electronic engineering, so my background is in electronics. So I work as a platform application engineer, software engineer, and also I have the privilege to be a co-lead of Intel Malaysia Makers Club that time. So it was really great that, I mean, Intel, they are very supporting on all the makers initiative, innovation activities. So that's where I able to lead some of the activities and be part of some of the global event like Maker Fair. And that's where really I thought of that I'm really passionate on the education sector. And after 4 years in Intel, so I joined a startup in Singapore, which is the education technology startup, a UBTech. So they are actually an AI and robotics startup where they are selling the education solution to the schools so that they are able to use it as part of the learning. So as part of this job, I'm also able to have some training experience. So where I train some unemployed, skilling up those unemployed to really during the COVID time so that they get some new skills so that they are able to be employed into a better positions or maybe on other job, right? And after 3 years in this position, and finally I got the opportunity to become the Microsoft technical trainer. So with all the certification that I'm trying to learn, and then after that sharing with the community. So that's about how my entire career journey so far. So, and I hope that this gives you some clarity on how I begin my career from the very beginning until right now on Microsoft. And I really love what I'm doing right now, learning up all the latest technology and empowering all the people out there. Yeah.
Vincent, I have a question for you on this because, you know, in a short period of time from 2014 to 2022, in 8 years, you've had a variety of different roles, right? Which is fantastic. My question is, like I've actually been in a similar role, like as a technical seller at Cisco and Microsoft, and like so I've been doing what I've been doing for a while now, probably 15 to 20 years, right? But in 8 years, you've gone from like software engineering to like sales manager, and now you're a technical trainer. So like, how do you, I guess, convince the people that are hiring you that you can go from one position to the other? Because a lot of times people are looking for someone who already has that skill, already has that, has been doing that job, right? So how has that been? How do you do that?
All right, so I think that's a very great question. So, well, for me, the things that I really learn about is always be looking out for different opportunity, and also stay yourself updated to the technology. And on top of your job, I mean, on top of my job, I do involve myself in the different community works and also different projects out of my work. So that is build up my like knowledge and my experience that really like help me in getting into the different roles, right? So some of the roles, like I think as a product and sales manager in the education technology, this requires me to have the knowledge on the AI and robotics, which in the Intel days, I actually doing it as my part of my hobby, right? So I really love to tinker about the robotics as my hobby, right? So and that is where, and also during the time where I'm in the this education technology field, or maybe even before I'm in this field, or all the time before in my career, I really love to empower people, or maybe organizing workshop wherever during my free time to like share my knowledge to the communities, or maybe to the schools that I'm really maybe to my my secondary schools, all that, right, about all the technology that I know, and empowering them, raising awareness for them, right? So that is where I think it builds up my knowledge and experience, right? So that's how I journey through the entire career. Yeah, I hope that answers some. I made the
Yeah,
question.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Thank you.
Okay, so I think so far it's good. So let me go on. So we can always come back and revisit some of this again. Okay. So yeah, so as I mentioned about involvement in community, right? So even right on my university days, I love I'm being exposed to communities, right? So like Maker Faire and some of the platform, like how do you share projects on Hackster.io, and then some of the Discord community, embedded system professional and academy. And I did a lot of the sharing sessions for the community, as well as you can see from some of these poster that I did. So I did some projects, and I'm being reached out by some of the students and also the communities to do some like 1 hour sharings about how to use a certain technologies. So I prepared for that, and I did that. So I really love to share the knowledge to the community. So these are just some of my involvement in community that I think are worth mentioning. So like Maker Faire is really the one that get me started into all this education, because Maker Faire is really about having different innovative project where people just come together, work together, and doing some projects. And this project is not just on a hobby level, and there will be some commercial value as well. That's how startup begins, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, and on this one, like involvement in community, I want to mention this is very important, right? Because companies like Microsoft, they really go out of their way talking about the culture of diversity, inclusivity, all these things, right? And like involvement in your community, it sets you apart. And if you're able to highlight this in your resume or on your LinkedIn profile, that's that little extra edge that it gives you. And if you don't want to do some of these things, it varies, right? Like whatever your interests are, like you can be coaching your kids' football team or your soccer team, or you could be volunteering at a hospital, or it doesn't really matter what it is that you're doing, working at your kid's school, for example. But as long as you're giving back in some way and you highlight that in your interview, people love to hear about that. So this is excellent, what you're sharing here, Vincent.
exactly. So that's where I really grateful that I got this opportunity to be involved as part of the community. So not just focusing on myself, but indeed more on like networking with people and knowing more people, all that, right? So that is really important. And this brings me to the next point where I got this job because of the referral and the opportunity to upskill. So I would like to thank my friend Vincent and I. Okay, so it's a customer success account manager also in Microsoft. So previously we met in Intel where I lead the makers group. So we keep in touch after that as well because we have the same passion on education, empowering the others. Uh, that is maybe they do not have chances to learn about all this technology, right? So we do keep in touch after we met, I think back in maybe 2016, 2017, back in Intel days. And then when, I mean, I do follow her updates and so on. So that's where when this opportunity came and then I just reached out to her and then she just willingly to help me, to refer me for this position. And that's where I able to kind of like get the opportunity to be interviewed and then go through the interview. Yeah. And also I would like to highlight for this where I mean back in early of this year, I able to attend one of the Microsoft virtual training day. So and these are free virtual training day that you can attend. And then you can upskill on like all the fundamentals, like AI fundamentals, Azure fundamentals, data fundamentals, and more. And that is no cost at all. And you can take the certification at free. At free, totally free. So why not? So that is where when I got to know about this early of this year, I took the opportunity to upskill myself on the cloud because I was previously more on the electronics, robotics, and cloud is something that's very new for me. And I think these are all the fantastic things that I went through and helped me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Vincent, both of these are super important, right? Like to be able to get a referral, that is something that maybe puts you more in a direct touch with the hiring manager, right? Because that referral might be able to talk to the hiring manager. The recruiter is important, but to be able to just have someone put in a good word for you that has worked with you previously, that's so important. The other thing is these certifications are when I was actually joining from Cisco into Microsoft, the first thing the Microsoft people I was talking to, my referrals, if you will, they asked me like, Sheriff, do you have any Microsoft certifications? And I didn't because I was like a Cisco guy, right? And so I had to figure out how I was going to get these certifications. And the fact that they're free or you can just put in the time and get it, that shows the Microsoft people that are interviewing you that you're committed, that you're dedicated, right? So these are all, you're hitting on all the right things, right? Referral, culture, certifications, so important. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I will share with you more on all these resources where you can get all these as well later on. So how linking is also a place that really helped me a lot, I would say. Back then in uni days or maybe after I graduating, I am actually not very active on LinkedIn. Maybe I think most of us we are active on Facebook, Instagram, all that, right? And I think last year I get active on LinkedIn. I think probably I do attend some of the workshop and all that. So, and if you can see from here, from last year, April, less than 1,000 followers. And right now, on this August 2022, I have more than 5,500 followers. And I will share with you some of the tips that I did. But LinkedIn actually represents your professional reputation and professional growth. It's actually more than your resume and it's more than your e-version of resume, right? People sometimes say the e-version of your resume, but it's actually more than that, right? Because you are able to put out your own profile, your own, and also able to interact with people real time. Because e-version of the resume, maybe you just put it out there, but people may not be able to know what exactly that you are doing or that, right? And also you can share about career, education, projects, and network with others, like-minded folks or anyone, even like strangers, right? Who knows that will become your work project partners and so on, right? And also you can connect with the employees of the companies or team members, like what I did, which I connect with some of the technical training team members, the hiring managers, or maybe like sharing as well, or that so that I can learn from them. And that's where, so how do I do in 1 year I get this. Actually, it's not very impressive, but I'm actually quite proud of it. So what I really did is that it's just like the normal Facebook or Instagram. You just share about your career, your life. Okay, probably not just careers, or you can also share your life. But yeah, so sometimes people just try to separate between them. So like for my LinkedIn, I share about my career, my projects, some of the events that I attend, or maybe some of the events that I organize, or that kind of stuff. So, and that's where from time to time, and also one more thing is very important is engage with people posts. Okay, engage with the post that someone else is posting that you think is inspiring you, or maybe you think is very great, that helps you. So give them a comment, and it will help you to like grow your visibilities and all that, right? And if you see right here, this is when I reached out to Sherwin on my LinkedIn profile, and I'm really happy that he gave me such a comment on this. So yeah, and also I was actually quite shocked when he's mentioned to me, even overqualified for the job you're interviewing for. I'm actually like, if you see this statement, it's a bit more like, oh, probably you're overqualified, so you may not get this job, or that kind of things, right? So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why but later
Yeah.
on he did clarify, yeah.
Yeah, I did exactly, because I mean, very, very. If you guys haven't, just look up Vincent on LinkedIn. You'll see how great his LinkedIn is. And the thing is, your LinkedIn can be as great, right? You can look mine up. You can look up Vincent's. And companies like Microsoft, they pay a lot of attention to LinkedIn. And why would they, right? You ask. Well, number one, Microsoft owns LinkedIn, right? So it's kind of like they're like, oh, people are using our tools, so they're automatically happy if you're using LinkedIn and you have a good profile. The other thing is that if someone is actually a Microsoft employee is referring you, they have the option of either attaching your resume or just putting in your LinkedIn link. It's that important, right? Like, I don't have to upload your PDF resume. I can just put your LinkedIn link, and if it's up to date and strong, they'll look at that and consider you for the position instead of looking at your PDF resume, for example, right? So I'm also happy that Vincent reached out to me. Like I said, we were strangers until that day, that message that he has on the left-hand side, and that's how we are here today, 6 months later.
Yes. And also one thing I would like to mention about LinkedIn is really great because you can get recommendation from people that you have worked with. And LinkedIn, the profile that you have is like you see all the job titles and the thing. So it can't be a fake recommendation, I would say, unless I don't know what kind of things that you did or whatever. But it will be all these are the real recommendation from my friends, from my network that I really worked with previously, right? In Intels or in communities, or maybe some of my learners, all that, right? So I think it's really great that you get your LinkedIn profile on that. So, and network with everyone that you think that will be helpful, right? So indeed, LinkedIn has helped me a lot in getting this job, like connecting with the hiring managers, team members, and learning the different tips from them. Yeah. Okay, so I think I will move on. So yeah, this is the highlight for my presentation today, interview tips. So I put it into, it's a bit heavy, but I will go through with you. So no worries. So before, I will talk about before, what did I really do, and during, and then after. So it seems to be like all these are quite common tips, but this is really all my journey that I really went through these steps that I do. It's kind of a stressful interviews because I went through, I think, around 4 rounds of interviews. So that's why really I did all this to really understand all the stuff. So let's start with always starting with this, right? So because you need to know the company that you are trying to apply a job with, right? So maybe an interview opportunity. So there's the company missions, mission, vision, culture, products, or that's definitely you need to know that. And also, and one of the key things is also to note down the key success story throughout your career journey, because you will need to know, you will need to present yourself like what have you did, why do we need to hire you, right? So you need to tell about that story, right? And not just about the success, because companies, they do like to understand about the failure and how do you overcome them, right? So what are the strategies or techniques that you use to overcome that, the thinking, right? The thought process, right? And because for my position is a technical training position, so I have a technical presentation interview. So I got to practice about the presentation, so that is kind of okay and makes sense for the interview, right? So before I'm moving on, is there any questions on this before?
Yeah, and if you guys do have any questions, I'm looking at the comments. Just drop them in the live chat, right? I don't see anything yet, but I do want to add, Vincent, like you're right. If people just start searching for preparing for interviews, you might think some of these are generic, but as generic as they might be, someone like me who can sit on an interview panel, we will probably ask you, tell us about a moment or a project where things didn't go well and how you overcame it, right? So to Vincent's point, like practice these kinds of scenarios so that at least those are the easy ones, right? Like maybe we'll give you something that's more difficult, but pretty much every interview is going to ask you about how you work on a team, how you have had successes and failures. So these are important. So yeah, please continue,
Yes,
Vincent. No
exactly.
questions at the moment.
Yeah, sure. No worries. So now is the day during the interview. So what did I really did previously? So as much as I think I wanted to, I try to be relaxed and stay calm. Okay, so just relax and stay calm. Don't be nervous, because if you are nervous, you will be like blank, right? So and be yourself and do your best. Just be yourself, right? So don't kind of like trying to be someone else or whatever. Just be yourself, right? Be your true self and just do your best at your whatever that you have. And also, I mean, during interview, definitely you will be asked with some questions, right? So do ask some clarifying question before rushing to answer. So because this will demonstrate your thinking process. How do you ask for clarification on the certain questions before you rushing to answer them? So because this will really help. And also it's okay to say I don't know. So I guess this is the one that people I think afraid of that. Yeah, I don't know, right? So they are afraid to tell about that, because they thought like, if I say I don't know, so then you are not qualified for the job. Actually, it's okay to say I don't know for some of the things that you really don't know, right? So and because I think in Microsoft it's about learn it all, it's not about know it all, right? So I guess that is the one. And also for while answering some of the questions, I use the STAR model. So actually this is also the interview tips that put it out on the Microsoft website. So which is about the situation, the task, what are the action that you took, and the result, and also some of the reflection. And finally, the interview is the process of understanding the company and also the understanding yourself. So that's why it's good that you ask questions at the end of the session. So that like will make you feel a better candidate, because you ask questions so that you understand clearly on what is expected for the role, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
and
about
Vincent, on this one, I would say that I do sit on some of these interview panels, right? And asking questions sometimes, like if we're giving a candidate 30 minutes, we might give half of that time for you to ask questions, and it's so like Vincent, like you're saying, it's completely a two-way street, right? It's us asking the candidate questions and the candidate asking us questions, because everyone has to be comfortable that this is the right fit. So don't be afraid of asking questions. Maybe prepare some questions ahead of time. Everything that you're saying here is perfect, right? And it's okay to say no. Probably I would rather hear someone say I'm not quite sure, or maybe preface it like I don't know, but it could be this, versus if you completely make something up, right? So these are all great points.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I really learn about that. So the during, so I did that, and also so right now after the interview, I guess a lot of us, probably myself, I went through a few interviews as well. We didn't really send a thank you note. So I realized that this is really important, and it might be not a very comfortable for you because you do not know the recruiter personally or whatever, right? But sending a thank you note, either email or linking messages to the interviewer actually help you to stand out. So I have 4 rounds of interview. I did all 4 rounds. So I feel I think it's a right thing to do. So just spending a thank you notes and telling about how do you feel about the interviews and thank you for the interviewer for their time to interview you, right? So I think this is a very important point that I learned about that. And yeah, of course, after the interview, you will definitely need to prepare for the next interview. So going through the same process depending on the type of interview. So, and while this after, so during all this process, right, recruiter is your best go-to person in helping you throughout the entire journey. So I kind of like work closely or maybe keep in touch with the recruiter. So if I have in doubts, I will just ask the recruiter about the questions. Then he or she will help me, and then I think that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and on this one, I would say that the recruiter is a great person to keep in touch with, but maybe an even better person to keep in touch with, if you know, is that hiring manager, right? Like
Yes.
when I was coming into Microsoft, which was back in November of 2020, I knew who the hiring manager was, and I worked with the recruiter. But at least once or twice a week, I would be messaging or calling the hiring manager and talking to them. Because think about it, at the end of the day, that is the person that's going to decide if you join or don't join the team. They do take feedback from the people that are part of the panel interviewing you, the 4 or 5 people that interviewed Vincent, for example, but they have the final say on if someone joins their team or not. So also try to keep in touch with the hiring manager.
Exactly. So that's where I get to know my hiring manager from the linking as well. So we get in touch and then we just we talk as well. So yeah, I think that's where linking is really helpful in that way, right? So
And
let
Vincent,
me
we do have one question from Ron. He's saying, can you provide a simple example of the STAR model in an interview? So situation, task, action, and result, and reflection.
Sure, sure. I think I can share one which I kind of still remember about that. So back then in my in my previous career where I have doing the workshop. So the situation is that I am running a AI car workshop, right? So the AI car workshop, we are using the mobile phone as the camera. So mobile phone, as you know, we have Android and iOS, so Apple devices. So the situation is that I enable it for the Android that able to use the camera. So, but the real situation or the feedback is that, hey, I'm using iOS, so does that mean I can't use this? I can't do this project anymore? So that's the situation that putting me into a way that I'm trying to do something about it. So that is where I share about my story on how I research about the fundamental. So I understand how the Android, uh, the entire architecture works. So and that's where I go and find out the similar approach on the iOS devices and download the certain apps and try to get the IP addresses so that I can make it an IP camera. So and as a result, it gave me a great like the people they feel inclusive and that hey yeah I can do all these projects together with other people as well already. So and that's how I kind of like share about the situation and all the tasks and actions and the result that I really did during my previous job. That's how I kind of like story about the situation and that demonstrate kind of like my the thought process on how I solve a certain task instead of like yeah you just get an Android phone then problem solved, right? So that's
Yeah,
the things that I share.
and
Yeah.
and it's almost like this slide that you have, right? The star model is almost like the before, during, and after. In that, you're setting up the stage, right? That's kind of before the situation that you're getting into. Then during, you're taking an action, or you have a task that you have to take an action on, and then after, you have a result. There's an outcome. And even afterwards, after that, maybe it was a positive or a negative outcome. And so there's lessons to be learned, which is a reflection part. But if you don't want to remember like the star model, just maybe even like look at this slide before, during, and after, and you'll remember. So I think like Vincent is saying, kind of like set the stage and then go through that process as you're explaining it, because it just makes logical sense for the people that are interviewing. So
yes, exactly.
I think,
so
yeah.
So that's about the star model. So I think this is also part of the links that I will share with you later. So these are all the ones that I think already publicly out there on the Microsoft website on the interview tips, right? So I kind of learn from there while I'm doing my research and preparation. Yeah. So that's why I think that's a very great model to like model your answers and also like the things, right? Yeah.
All right, keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so and right now I would like to talk about resume writing tips. So in fact, for this job, I made a couple of revision of my resume. So later I will show you my previous interview. I mean my previous resume, how does it look like and what is after the evolution, right? So, but the general tips here is that make it a plain format, simple structure, and do not put your job task only. So like I do this, I do that. Yeah, that is good, but do not just put that, but put some impact matrices. So how do you do this job and what are the impact that you made, the percentage, or maybe the bug that you fix, or maybe people that you outreach to, or that, and also get help from expert if you do not know how to like write out your interview, the resume, all that, right? So I get help from Ayu. So she's very great and also a linking influencer, as you can see the followers that she has. So she shared about interview tips, resume tips, and also career tips as well on her linking. So I met her back in June when she's in Singapore right here. So I reached out to her and get her help to read through my resume and also maybe what to improve and so on. And also I went on to this resume worded as well. So they give you some instant resume review and resume targeting when they will target your resume with the job description and see what are some of the keywords that you hit or didn't hit, right? So these are the things that I really went through. So and from all the different people that I met and I know. So do not just put your job tasks and putting out impact metrics. And really important is to get help from expert if you do not know about certain things, because there's so many people out there that can help you. Yeah.
Yeah. The other, the thing that stands out for me with Vincent is that, think about it, right? This guy is a networking master. He's like networking with so many people. He found me. He's talking to IU. He met all the different technical training experts before he joined. So I guess the point is, networking is very important, right? And what's the worst thing that can happen if you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, or you try to talk to someone in your job that is in a different department than you? They can say no, or they can ignore you. Not a big deal, right? You move on to the next person. But but this is what stands out to me, is how good of a job you do on the networking side.
Yeah. So since all the linkings are free out there, so why not? So just make use of all this. And right now, so this is the evolution of my resume. If you can see before and after. So which one do you prefer, right? So because I show some of it to my friends and they give me the feedback. Hey, this is too fancy, right? With the colors, the formatting it's fancy, because previously I thought, resume need to be like colorful and all that, right? And then the formattings, right? So after that, I met with the expert that I know that, I actually did the wrong thing, right? So it's just making it a plain format is actually the best thing ever. And it's so clean. And also like with a minimal formatting. So like if you see here, what are my objective, all that, and also the link tree. So I have this link tree where I have all my careers credential for this, all the links I can just put it in. And also with all these awards, recognition, and involvement as well. Okay, sorry. So, and also the education backgrounds, all that. Okay. So, and work experience. So it's just a very simple one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one tip I have on the resume is don't create a resume and use that to apply to every job. I think what is nice is if you create like a custom resume for each job that you're applying to, and it doesn't have to be a lot of work, right? Like you just like if you are targeting like Vincent was a technical trainer role, create a technical trainer role resume where it's what that role what they would be looking for or what you think they would be looking for, right? So because that's why I asked Vincent in the beginning, like, how did you go from all these different jobs in 8 years, right? And obviously he's able to connect with people and sell his skills. But I think, if you make your resume too generic, you're leaving it up for the person who is reading it to interpret how you can actually fit that job. Make their job easy. Show them that you're doing everything that you would be doing if you were actually hired by kind of formatting it and checking all the boxes, right? So I think so maybe think about doing something like that.
Yes. Okay, let me just move on. So yeah, so that's probably the end of my presentation. So I have 6 key takeaway for you. Okay, so probably throughout my entire journey. So having mentors in career is extremely helpful. I'm glad that I have a mentor in my career. I mean, back in earlier day. So I will share with you more later on. So having a mentor is extremely helpful for you because they went through the journey and they are able to share with you some of the things that probably you can do or probably cannot do and so on, all that, right? So take initiative, push yourself, and do your best for things that you can control. So this is really the kind of like my always reminding myself, just do my best. If something that I cannot control, just do your best, right? So for whatever things that you can control. So like, for example, you can send a thank you email. So that is, you can control that. You can do that, right? So even I think some of the interviewer, they might not share with you the email. So I went the extra miles, try to find it out in the internet. So, and I found it, right? So, and I asked the different people, like, how do I really send a thank you note or that? Yeah. So, and leverage on the resources that you have or available out there. So like I've shared throughout this entire talk. So there are so many resources that is available out there. Linking the people out there, the Microsoft virtual training days, all that. And also give first. So always about giving first. So, and you may not, I mean, give first is like, for example, the case is my involvement in the community. So I usually just give first without thinking like what is the reward, because I really enjoy doing that. So, and you will never know how all these things will help you in the future, right? So don't just think about the short term, think about the long term. And the fifth one is expand your comfort zone. I'm not saying go out of your comfort zone. Okay, so it's expanding your comfort zone. I think that's the new thing that I learned. It's not about going out, it's about expanding your comfort zone so that your comfort zone is growing bigger and bigger. And finally, this is the things that I try also learning. Invest in myself, invest in yourself, right? That is the best thing that we can really do. Invest in yourself, the time that you take to learn something, the money that you spend on something, all that, right? So invest in yourself in terms of the knowledge, the experience that you can have. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I look at these, like invest in yourself, Vincent did all these certifications as an example, expanding your comfort zone. You can see all these different jobs that he's had, like he's able to go from one to the next, right? Giving first with all the community work that he's doing. So I think these takeaways, you live them, and it shows, when people are interviewing you, when people are talking to you, and I think that the comfort zone one, because a company like Microsoft has growth mindset as a key core component of their culture, if you're able to demonstrate it, or if it just shows in your profile, then that's the type of a person, that's one of the attributes that everyone's looking for.
Yes, exactly. So I hope these 6 key takeaways resonate with you. So, And I would like to have a special mention to my partner and also my mentor. So my mentor is the one right here. So back in Intel days, so she has helped me a lot in my career, not just career, but also my life. So career in terms of what? Knowing that I should focus on my strength, not my weakness. Back then in early days in my career, I learned about Python, I learned about Node.js, all that, right? I feel very excited about it, but that is actually not really my strength. So she pointed me that, hey, your strength is more like teaching people, maybe event organizing, or maybe certain things of that, communities, all that, right? So you shouldn't be like going deep dive into those programming language that you are trying to learn, because those, I mean, I took a lot of time. So I might be doing it, but perhaps I may not be enjoying doing it because that's not my strength. So, and also my strength is like networking with people, all that. So she mentioned to me that to focus on that, and that is really always in my mind right now still, to focus on my strength and not my weakness. But of course, we need to acknowledge that we do have the weakness and we can work through the weaknesses as well. So I also would like to thanks to my partner as well. So right here to giving me support in my life. So in whatever that I do, like the communities and all that, right? So that's really the what I really want to mention about having a mentor in life is really helpful for you. Yeah. So this is a picture that we took back in I think mid of the year. So last few months where we have a celebration together. Yeah. Okay, and finally, this is all the useful learning resources that I'm putting, and also useful interview resources that I have it on. I mean, it's actually wide available on the Microsoft website. So some of the useful learning resources, like how can you join the virtual training days, the Microsoft Learn, so it's also a free resources, Microsoft certification, Microsoft Reactor, so some of the events that they are doing. And also this is a bit about my story on how do I get my first AI 900 certification back then in March 2022. Yeah. So you can take a screenshot on this, so that you can kind of be helpful for you on this. So this is all free out there. I'm not paying anything to learn, right? So there's a lot of free resources out there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think with that, I would like to end with this. So three also, I think it's a key point, also like a key takeaway. So consistency, growth mindset, and perseverance, right? So consistency, be consistent in whatever that you are doing. All right. So be consistent. Just do whatever that you do. Start. I mean, I think always we wanted it to be perfect. Then we only do certain things, but just start to do first, and you will be improving along the line. And that's where the really growth mindset coming in, because you embrace the growth mindset where you will continue on to challenge yourself instead of like, hey, this is a challenge, so I just going away from the challenge, and you learn it all. Okay, so because we are all human, we may not know everything, so that's where I think that's very important, so that we don't expect that everyone to know everything. Yeah. So perseverance, so just keep on doing it, don't give up easily. So because you may not see the result instantly, so like I say, don't look at the short term, look at the long term. Perseverance on that, right? So, and finally, this is one of my favorite quote that I always use: get inspired and make great things happen. And why is not get motivated? Because you can get motivation from everywhere, okay, from internet or whatever. But if you are not inspired by yourself, there's no use. You can't make anything, right? You need to be inspired from the bottom of your heart, and you will make great things happen. And for this entire journey, I would really like to thank God for the best plan in my life, how it helped me to journey through meeting with different peoples, and also I pray through all the entire journey of the interview, and just doing my best, because I know that He will help me through the. If that's what He planned for me, He will make it come true, right? So yeah, so welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I hope to chat with you soon. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, Vincent. You can stop sharing. And if there's questions, if you guys have any questions for people that are on, just drop them in the comments. We'll stay on a couple more minutes and answer your questions. In the meantime, I was going to say, Vincent, you know, you talked about consistency, right? Which is super important in everything that we do. And I think sometimes when you are looking at a task that you have to take on, it might seem overwhelming, right? If you have to learn a programming language like Python or whatever that you have to do, it's like it can be overwhelming. So you just have to look at it one step at a time. And like you said, just kind of do your best. And day after, the days are going to become weeks, the weeks are going to become months, and then eventually years, right? Time is going to pass. The question is, are you taking full advantage of that time, or are you not, right? So I think the consistency is a great thing that you put in there. So let's see if we have anything. Like, thank you everyone for joining, and I appreciate you guys coming on the channel. Again, if you haven't given the video a like, just give it a quick like. And in addition to all those links, I dropped this in the chat before. You know, we have different videos on the channel as well, right? That talks about culture, about technical preparation, interviews with my manager at Microsoft, and tips that he has. So check all that kind of stuff out, because I think everything Vincent said is fantastic, but you can start hearing from other Microsoft people and other people in general. And then those might give you some additional tips, right, to help you prepare. But yeah, so let's see if there's anything else.
Exactly, and all that is actually a free resources right now that you're putting in some time to do. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. Those things take quite a bit of time, right? And people like Vincent and I, we love giving back because we really do want to help the next generation, or even the current generation, right? People coming out of university, people that are working, but they want to change their careers. And that gives me joy to know that I'm helping people, and I believe it does for Vincent as well, right? So it is absolutely free.
Okay.
They're all just videos or links on YouTube. So just check those out. Let's see here. Okay, so one of the questions from Jafar is, what are some of the ways of getting referrals from tech companies?
All right, so this is, I think it's a great question where I think everyone looking to get a referrals, so that you get more chances, right? I would say. So like I say, I think LinkedIn helped me in this way. So that's where and also just try to network as much as you can via your events. Don't be shy. Okay, sometimes I'm shy as well, so so unless I do reach out to someone else to talk to them, so who knows, something great that we will be making it happen together, right? So I think that's really the tips. Just put yourself out there, network with people, get to know people, and keep in touch with them, all that. And I think I never know that my friends, which I met maybe a few years ago, that will help me today, right? So you'll never know, right? And of course, we don't network because of the benefits or whatever. We just, because we are like-minded, we get in touch, all that, right?
Yeah, and just to add and echo what Vincent was saying, same for me, right? Like the people that I met, whether it was in university or my first or second job, you know, as time goes by, as the years go by, you don't know where these people are going to end up. Like some of them are your peers initially, then they become managers, and then they become senior managers, and maybe they become a VP. I know some people that are CEOs of some of the Fortune 500 companies now, and I was working with them like 10, 15 years ago, right? So not to say that they're gonna, do anything special for me, right? But maybe, right, if you keep in touch with people and you can help them out, they'll be able to be referrals for you. So I think it all goes back to networking.
Exactly.
So so definitely keep in touch with people.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we're good. I don't see any other questions. Maybe I'll give it one more minute. If you guys have questions, let us know, because like I said, Vincent and I just want to help you guys out, and we're pretty happy on Microsoft. So it's more for you. And if you do
Yeah,
have a chance to join, right? Because it's a great company.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel empowered every day working with this company. Great company. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic company. So yeah, you're welcome, Jafar. So yeah, definitely keep in touch. And if something comes up later on, you guys want to drop your questions in the comments of the video, then we'll get back to you down the road as well. So Vincent, with that, I want to thank you very much. You're obviously an amazing guy, and this has been really good for all the viewers out there and people that have been watching it now, but also people that may watch it recorded. Feel free to share it with people too if you think it'll help them. So thank you very much, Vincent. You did an awesome job.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Keep up the great job with your channel and continue to inspire more. Right.
Okay. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.